Okay, so some people may not like you, but I think you're still perfect. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review and... Wait, aren't I supposed to be in black and white? Is my video back in full color? Uh, oh, this film is in color. That makes sense. Anyway, and this review is going to be for a full-on color sequel to a black and white film from the 90s I reviewed back earlier in the summer. It's the sequel to my favorite comedy movie of all time, and that film is going to be for none other than 2006's CLERKS II. Released in July 2006, and I'm reviewing this because we're going to be having CLERKS III next month, which I plan to get tickets for soon after Labor Day. But anyway, the point is, what is this movie about? Well, a calamity at Dante and Randall's shop sends them looking for new horizons. They ultimately settle at Movies, a fictional fast food restaurant. Free from his dead-end job and longing to a new one, Dante begins to break free of his rut, planning to move away with his clingy fiancée. He is ready to leave the horrors of minimum wage New Jersey behind, but Randall, always the more hostile of the two, starts to become overwhelmed by his own rancor. So yeah, so how was the plot of the movie? So how was the film made? Well, in 1999, the original title was slated to be CLERKS II Hardly Clerking, aka Jerry Lewis's Hardly Working, as seen in the credits of Dogma. Smith later modified that the title of The Passion of the Clerks, employing the title of Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. According to the DVD documentary, the title was just changed to simply CLERKS II due to the negative reaction to the Passion title. The film was shot from September to November 2005. It was originally scheduled for a 2005 release, and then to a January 2006 release. But the production was pushed back due to other projects and Kevin Smith's involvement in the romantic comedy Catch and Release. Smith released production diaries on the CLERKS II website, which chronicled the entire making of the film from the first rehearsals all the way through to the final release. Some of these web diaries are also available on the 2-disc DVD of the film. Smith released a web-only teaser trailer for the CLERKS II website on January 9, 2006, and a web-only trailer on April 2, 2006. Smith also released several shots featuring action figures from his previous films to promote the film. Before the release of the film, Smith had mentioned releasing an MP3 file commentary to be downloaded and listened to in movie theaters via iPod. Ultimately, theater owners and exhibitors objected, and the plan was scrapped. The abandoned commentary featuring Smith, Scott Mosier, and Jeff Anderson was included on the DVD. So, after the movie was filmed, the film screened out of competition at the 2006 Cannes Film Festival and won the Einsport at the 2006 Edinburgh International Film Festival, before receiving a theatrical release on July 21, 2006. The critical and commercial success, grossing $27 million worldwide on a $5 million budget. When it comes to some audience reactions, some people consider this an inferior sequel, while the other half consider it still just as good as its first movie from 12 years before around that time. As for me, I'm among the people that also like the sequel about as much as the first film. It's safe to say that back in 1984, the original CLERKS film was a classic. It was shot by first-time at the time filmmaker Kevin Smith in black and white, and charted the amazingly simple tale of a day in the life of two guys who worked in a convenience store. In fact, it's actually also my favorite comedy movie of all time, like you all probably already know. In fact, it was so successful that it's amazing that it's taken so long to produce a sequel, and as everyone knows, there's always a distinct lack in quality when it comes to sequels. Yes, CLERKS II isn't quite as sharp or cutting edge as the original, but it's still damn good fun. It's easy to say that what follows is just a rerun of kind of of Clerks 1, but it isn't. It's a whole new beast altogether. Yes, the humor still is risky and adult in nature. Can't really watch this and be easily offended, just so you know. But the situations are different, and what's more is that you actually can identify with the characters in this movie. There are even a couple of quite touching moments between the two leads. And for the casting, once again, all the main actors return, all Hopper and Anderson grabbing my attention yet again. The beautifully written script by Smith introduces Fairman as Elias, who is ridiculously fun to watch, especially as he tries to connect with Randall. He added a nice dynamic to the movie, and I really liked his character. I even met Trevor Fairman earlier this year at Fan Expo. Guys, is a very cool dude. From the starting point, nothing really happens for the entire movie. In fact, pretty much the first hour consists of Randall and the others standing around the workplace bickering all the time. With those of you who have seen a typical Kevin Smith movie before, this shouldn't be a turnoff. But this one should, in fact, it kind of should make you want to see it even more. The one-liners come thick and fast and as hoped, as peppered with profanities, and 10 years of life experience hasn't toned Randall down a bit, and his lyrical outbursts on negative racial terms and why Lord of the Rings wasn't as good as Star Wars are absolutely hilarious, but I kind of like equally both Star Wars and Lord of the Rings equally. I don't. So, yeah, and then we also have that character Elias, like I mentioned. Like, before I go into more detail of Elias is this sexually frustrated 19-year-old who Randall loves to wind up this in a pain, and there's this wind up at times and kind of mess with, and while it does get a little profane at times, though it's also, like, believe it or not, rather kind of beautiful. That's right, actually beautiful. Like, it's not the sort of thing you associate with a movie with such frequent ass-to-mouth references. Like, for all of Dante's romantic troubles, the story isn't really about him and Becky, it's about him and Randall, who have basically been friends since the first movie, and two have grown up together and found that life hasn't figured out just the way they'd once envisioned. They've always had each other, and now Dante has a fiance. He's broken the great unwritten rule of male friendships. Doesn't fall in love with a girl if your best friend hasn't got one too. And Dante and Randall have many great moments in the movie. One of the few best scenes they share is in the final act. It's sad and bittersweet, but ultimately ties the two movies together tightly. It also serves as a great service to the fans, but it doesn't feel too cheap or tacky, like a lot of fan service these days seems to feel like. Well, now, but there's also something that this movie kind of lacked. The only thing I did feel this movie definitely lacked compared to the first was the nerdy discussions. Like, these were one of the highlights for the first movie, and there wasn't really, and I wish there was a little more of that in this movie, and we sadly didn't really get a lot of that. But I was thoroughly entertained when these discussions took place. Like, for example, that spot-on comparison to the Star Wars and Lord of the Rings trilogies was pretty hilarious, but once again, I like both the trilogies. The new and improved Jay and Silent Bob return as well, because technically, remember, in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, for those who have saw the movie, they got arrested, so now they're new and improved, with Jay giving a pretty fun depiction of Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, and you kind of can't help but laugh at everything these two screwballs do. And then you got Trevor Fairman playing the Virgin Elias, who is a Lord of the Rings and Transformers-loving Christian virgin, the perfect counterpart to Randall's obscene vulgarity, and was surprisingly funny. The bit between him, the hobby-loving customer, and Randall as they discuss Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars is a pretty hilarious high point. And then you have also a new character, Becky, played by Rosario Dawson, the manager at Movies, who has this thing for Dante. And Smith's usual crew make cameos, with Lee playing yet another character. Well, Jason Lee is known to cameo in a lot of Kevin Smith's films. In this one, he cameos as an old high school rival of Dante and Randall's that's just really in one scene, and then he just kind of disappears after that. You also see Ben Affleck for 10 seconds. Well, he also cameos in quite a few of Smith's films. And Nathan Silpe trying to score some drugs from Jay and Bob, and black comedian Wanda Sykes does make a cameo, playing this disgruntled Karen Black customer. Her scene doesn't really get up any laughs. It's actually the part that does get laughs in that scene, it's Randall and his racial slur comments, which I'm not going to say because it is kind of, racist. But the whole point of that is he's taking it back. But I will admit, is this sequel better than the first movie? Well, no. It's not better than the first movie by any means. In fact, there's a few problems I have with it. And now we're going to get on to the bad qualities. When it comes to the bad qualities, I will admit, the film being in color doesn't really work. I feel like they should have kept the movie in black and white again because the black and white tone really worked for the first movie. I felt like, I get it was kind of because they didn't really have money to make it in color, but I really like the first movie's black and white, so I really wish the sequel kept up its tradition. Only black and white scenes are the beginning and end of the movie, and then the rest of the movie is just in bright color. I also feel like Dante's presumed crush in the film, and those who's played by Jennifer Schwalbach, was kind of an annoying character. I do kind of wish they got a better actress to play her. There's also a dance number featuring Jackson 5's ABC that just feels like it was forced in the movie to be all over the top, and it's just pure filler, doesn't really serve a purpose to the film. And then finally, there's also the donkey show scene at the end. I won't go into details with what I mean about it, but it's not something you want to know at all. So those were my bad qualities, and it's kind of why I still like the first film better, but I still like this one pretty good as well. In fact, now that I think about it, this movie actually, if this was the end of the View Asks universe, I would have been very satisfied. Because this movie felt like a great ending to the whole story. But we're getting a third one in September, so that's kind of no longer meaning much. However, despite those bad qualities, Clerks II is still a good comedy sequel to a 1994 low-budget black and white independent comedy film, and is worth checking out and buying if you love the first film. Anyway, that's it for my review of Clerks II, and if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Clerks II, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love these characters and want to see more of them again in another chapter in the 2000s era, then easily give this movie a watch and then buy it, add to your collection for sure. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Clerks II, I'm going to give Clerks II an 8 out of 10. And there we go. Now I just finished my review of Clerks II, and oh, now I'm back in black and white. Since the movie ends in black and white, well, kind of a weird transition there, but at least I'm back in black and white now. Well, feels pretty good. So, yeah, I had that new feature. Yeah, I added a new pick for my reviews because I did a little upgrading for the fall. Kind of like to upgrade as I go to improve the channel, hopefully get some more subscribers, because I think I might be getting a lot of months closer to finally being able to have 1,000 subscribers and earn money on YouTube and be eligible for monetization. So I might be several months away from that, actually. So I thought I'd up my game a little bit, hopefully get some more subscribers. Until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.